Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, with Benny Fowler, our Super Bowl champion, former NFL wide receiver, here to break down the NFC and AFC championship games. The Kansas City Chiefs against the Buffalo Bills and the Washington Commanders, surprising everybody, going to the Philadelphia Eagles to decide who is going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. An exciting weekend ahead. Benny and I have been breaking down the entire playoffs. We're going to continue today. Brought to you here on the Believe Network and on the PL on NFL YouTube channel by MyBookie, rolling out the red carpet for sports bettors this season. Go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code PATSPICKS, and get a 50% match on your first deposit of $50 or more up to $1,000. MyBookie, bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink, a natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally feel a post-workout-like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today. Place your first order with that code, TalkingBall25, or use the QR code on your screen, and you'll get 25% off your first order on the subscribe and save option. It won't lock you in, so you can get that discount and cancel your subscription if you like. I do think, though, you'll stick with Boom once you try it. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. And brought to you by Estate 98 Coffee, a specialty coffee concentrate perfect for when you want to make a quick cup of coffee and skip the lines. Takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 iced or hot coffee. It's great as a mixer as well for espresso martinis, and each bottle can make up to 16 cups. Go to estate98.com/talkingball to get an exclusive offer for 80% off your first order. And remember to join us on Talking Ball Live. When we do those live chats, we have our Estate 98 coffee giveaway. It's either an NFL or Giants trivia question. If you get it right, Estate 98 mails a free bottle of Estate 98 coffee to you. This day, Thursday, January 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern, we are having a special Talking Ball Live episode with a mystery guest. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you are able to ask a question from this fun and high-profile Giants fan who's joining me for a passionate conversation about a team that is, at the moment, down in the dumps. And now on to our fun conversation with Benny Fowler, Super Bowl 50 champion, former NFL wide receiver. He is the one and only Benny Fowler. I am Pat Leonard, NFL columnist and Giants beat writer for the New York Daily News, here with another episode of Talking Ball with Pat Leonard. And we are here to preview the NFC and AFC championship games. Bills, Chiefs, Eagles, Commanders. Benny, what do you think of that?
It's crazy to even say, especially, no one had them in the conference championship game. Probably nobody had them in the playoffs. I know I didn't have them in the playoffs this year, but what an incredible thing. What an incredible moment for their team, their organization. So yeah, I know we'll dive into it.
Awesome. Can't wait to talk about those games. First, wanted to start out because this kind of just dropped the finalist for some of the big awards around the NFL. Just to bat this around really quickly, the finalists for MVP, Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff. Benny Fowler had Jared Goff in this conversation before anybody else, and Lamar Jackson. Benny, who do you think deserves to win this?
I think Lamar Jackson deserves to win the MVP. I think he had an incredible season. I mean, way better season than he did last year, and he won the MVP last year. I know the media hype was around Josh Allen this year, and Josh did play really well, and then he actually ended up getting what Lamar really wanted, was a chance at the AFC title game. But I think Lamar had the better year. I think he accounted for 45 total touchdowns, only 4 picks. Thought he had an incredible year, and they end up winning the division. What I will say is that, I wouldn't mind seeing a split between Lamar and Josh in terms of, I think we've seen that before. Maybe it was Barry Sanders and Brett Favre that split the MVP. I don't remember who split the MVP, but I know it's been done before. But, Josh is deserving of that award as well, especially, they were talking about it being a rebuild year. He played extremely well this year, goes on the road to Detroit to win a crazy game, and then also beats Kansas City at home. So can't go wrong with either one, but I think Lamar will win.
I like the split idea. If you were going to go with a split, Benny, is it reasonable to suggest that Saquon deserves a three-way split of that if you're going to go that route? Or do you think just the quarterback impacts and it's also, it's technically a regular season award, right? So feels like if you did the voting on the playoffs as well, Saquon jumps further into that conversation, but with the regular season, it's just the QBs. What do you think?
I think it's a quarterback award when you're talking about the most valuable player, and because they're touching the ball all the time and they just have such a profound impact. Even though Saquon did have that for the Eagles this year, but I think Saquon takes home the Offensive Player of the Year.
All right. And then we'll touch on one more of these end of season awards, one that we've been talking about throughout the year, and that is Coach of the Year. The finalists for that award: Dan Campbell of the Lions, Kevin O'Connell of the Minnesota Vikings, Sean Payton of the Denver Broncos, another person that Benny was inserting into this conversation before anybody else, Dan Quinn of the Washington Commanders, and Andy Reid of the Kansas City Chiefs. Benny, I can't say there's many guys on this list who I would say don't deserve it if they win it. Who do you think ultimately takes it home?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, that's a tough one. Just, Kevin O'Connell did incredible work all year. Sam Darnold's comeback player of the year, probably. And what they lost 2 games all year. So I don't know. It's tough because Detroit, what did they lose 2 games all year too, or only one?
One, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, that's tough. I mean, you have those 2 incredible coaches right there. I think it's between those 2. If I had to bet on it, I'd probably go with Kevin O'Connell just because he had the question mark at quarterback to start the year, and nobody expected the Minnesota Vikings to be 15-2 going into the season. What he was able to do, the way they were able to win. I know the last couple weeks were super tough in terms of the loss to the Lions and then also losing in the playoffs, but what he was able to do this regular season with Sam Darnold, who was there to be a bridge quarterback, maybe be the backup, and to win 15 games is incredible. Although Dan Campbell did an incredible job, they go 15-1. But Detroit they had Super Bowl favorites, or they were Super Bowl favorites at the beginning of the season. So they were projected to be good. Minnesota, not so much.
Yeah, I think you're right too. Usually the way the voting for this award goes is that even though there are coaches whose teams lose 1 or 2 games or whatever it is, and they're at the top and they get the first seed in the bye, usually it's the coach who takes a team whose expectations are low and turns it on its head and has them in the playoffs and does something no one anticipated. Brian Dable in New York, Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland. So I agree. I think O'Connell ends up winning it, even though a lot of deserving coaches. And frankly, if there is someone else who would finish second based on unexpected, it would be Sean Payton, I think,
Yeah, 1,000%.
from that list in Denver. All right, so let's jump into the main event here, the championship games. Benny, it feels like these playoffs are kind of speeding through. Like I don't want it to end. I'm not usually the guy who wishes away the offseason, but this has been a really exciting season, especially with an unexpected result with the Commanders going this deep. And so pumped about it. Don't want to see it end, but we go to NFC Championship game Sunday, 3:00 on Fox. The 6 seed Commanders at the number 2 seed in the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, at Lincoln Financial Field in South Philly. Benny, just going to put it to you right off the bat. Jaden Daniels, he's been special. Can he do this? Can he upset the Philadelphia Eagles? Can Washington upset Saquon Barkley and the Birds and go to New Orleans and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl?
I definitely think Jaden Daniels can go into Philly and win. I think they're playing with an extreme amount of confidence right now. And I think, hot teams win at this time of year. I think you've been a part or you've seen those New York Giants teams that were wild card teams go on a run, go on the road, win games, and end up winning the Super Bowl. So I'm not going to say they're going to end up winning the Super Bowl, but I definitely think they can go there and win. ESPN's been putting out some great content in terms of some of the schemes and what was done up front in the last game. Also, I think it needs to be said that Jaden Daniels did throw 5 touchdown passes in their last game. I know Jalen Hurts didn't play, and I know that's important, but Jalen Hurts doesn't play defense. Their starters were still out there on defense for the Eagles. So it's going to be an incredible opportunity. I think he's poised to do it. I think they have the confidence to do it. When you look at the game last week against Detroit, people can say all they want, or Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn weren't focused because they were thinking about getting head coaching jobs, something that we talked about here. But at the end of the day, the Lions did score 31 points, so they had enough points to win. Now, I don't think anybody here was expecting Jaden Daniels to go score 45. I think,
Right.
going on the road to score 45 points is incredible. So I know he got some help from his defense, but what an incredible rookie, what an incredible player. And dare I say it, best QB in the NFC right now, definitely a top 7 QB. You got your 4 in the AFC, but he's the best quarterback in that conference. He'll be the best quarterback in this game. So, it's going to be interesting to see.
They're also the hottest team in the league. I mean, you have to throw the Chiefs in there as well. But in terms of just down the stretch of the season, winning games, Washington won its last 5 going into the playoffs and now has won 2 more. So they've won 7 games in a row. And, Benny, I said this before and I didn't listen to myself last weekend. I should have listened to you. But and by the way, great call on what was going to happen in that game. I mean, you saw it before they even stepped on the field. But to me, it's like I watch, and this goes across all sports. It's not always the best team, but the hottest team usually wins. Like the team that is ascending after Thanksgiving into December, into January. It doesn't have to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed. It usually is, but it doesn't have to be. It's usually the team that has it rolling and hasn't lost in long enough where it's almost like they forget what losing feels like and they're not even thinking about it. And so that's what kind of Washington is right now. I have to say, I think that Jared Goff performance caught me off guard. You're absolutely right that in the end, 45 points against the Lions is the unexpected part of it. I thought that Goff fumble in the red zone was a huge deal. Obviously, the pick 6 was a big one as well. But I look at this matchup now against the Eagles, and I think that Jalen Hurts' knee, it looked like his left knee, I believe. I think that's going to take his running ability out of this game, Benny. Like he might start showing it a couple times early to try to keep Washington honest. But what happened in that Washington regular season win when Daniels threw the 5 touchdown passes was Hurts gets the concussion, gets knocked out. And with Kenny Pickett in the game, even though he can scamper a little, Washington's defense knows, okay, it's just going to be handoff to Saquon, and they're going to be trying to just knock us back and win the battle in the trenches. So we're just going to commit fully to the run. And they end up getting the ball back a lot, scoring a lot of touchdowns and winning the game, I think 36-33. So I think even though Hurts is playing in this game, his immobility, I believe, is going to allow Washington to overcommit to Saquon into the running game. I don't know if that means Washington's going to win the game. I do think it means that it's going to be very close.
Yes, I agree with you in terms of Jalen's impact and him not being able to run is definitely going to be something that Washington is going to be keyed in on. What I will say about the last game when Jalen did get hurt is that Philadelphia wasn't expecting that. They will go into this game now knowing, hey, he's going to be limited. We're not going to have that run threat. The offensive line will be prepared. I think it's a different level of preparation now going into this game. So I think Philadelphia will be ready. I think the offensive line will be ready. They will be practicing like that this week, and they will be preparing like that this week. Although Jaden is the better quarterback in this game, Saquon is the best player. So with the best offensive line. So they can control the line of scrimmage here. And if they do this the right way, if Philadelphia does this the right way, they can win this game by keeping Jaden Daniels and that hot offense off the field. So I do expect a bit of a chess match between Fangio and Cliff Kingsbury and what's getting ready to go down here. And then, Kellen Moore, running the ball with Saquon and Dan Quinn and that defense. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I don't know. I'm probably riding with the Commanders right now. I think the Commanders can go in there and win. I think they're riding with that. I think they have the momentum. I think they'll win a close one. Something by a field goal or 7 points. It won't be a blowout. It won't be a 45-point game, but it'll be one of those 21-17, 23-20 type games.
One reason I think they can do it, I do think the Eagles win the game, but one reason the Commanders very much can do it is because they have not turned the ball over yet in the playoffs. That's crazy to say with a rookie quarterback, but the Eagles defense is such a big part combined with that running game with Saquon of why they're here. Not just why they can win this game, but why they're even in this position. They forced, I think, 3 turnovers on Green Bay against Jordan Love and a couple weeks ago. And if Daniels protects the ball and doesn't give them extra possessions, I think that puts Philadelphia on its heels. My sneaky matchup of this game, Benny, is Zach Ertz, former Eagles Super Bowl hero, coming back into South Philadelphia and going up against CJ Gardner-Johnson, the safety for the Eagles, who, if you noticed in that game, not you, but I'm telling like our listeners and viewers, the Rams attacked the Eagles with a good amount of success with Tyler Higbee in this last game in the divisional round, the tight end. And Higbee was far from 100%. He was spitting up blood the week before. I do think that's something to watch, something that Washington can exploit the middle of the field up against Gardner-Johnson, who does make some plays, but I think if they get him isolated, they can do that. Benny, one question about Washington. Terry McLaurin has gotten a lot of deserved praise. I mean, that was an amazing individual effort on that touchdown.
He's a monster.
Wanted to know what you think of De'Ami Brown, because this is a player who, if you listen to any conversation about the Commanders, his name never comes up. And then every time I watch them play, he's all over the play. He's all over the field. He's making big plays. He had the two of the 3 biggest catches in the Washington win at Detroit. Have you watched him closely enough as far as how he's running his routes and what he's doing well and what impresses you about him at all?
I haven't watched him closely enough to break down his game in terms of what he does well, but what I will say from the 2 playoff games that I've seen is that he is elite concentration, at least from what I'm seeing so far, just from these 2 games. Elite concentration. I mean, you think about the one I would say, diagonal route towards the pylon route that the Detroit defender had his eye or his his hands over De'Ami Brown's eyes, and he's still able to make the catch. You see that catch. You see what he did in Tampa. He just seems like a reliable receiver. Seems like somebody who Jaden Daniels has a ton of amount of trust with, and trust him to throw the ball to him. So that's kind of what I see there. But I don't know much about his game, but I know he's stepped up in the playoffs big time and he's making big time plays. So, the more weapons you have on the field, the better. I think he will have to continue to come up big because, you could see Slay and McLaurin matching up or them rolling the coverage to McLaurin because he's such a dynamic player. But I don't know. It's tough because Washington, they do a no huddle offense. So 70% no huddle, and they keep people off guard. So it'll be interesting to see how the matchups, how they play out.
Yeah, I didn't realize that actually. Somebody shared that stat with me this week that they run, I think, the most no huddle in the league and that it's in the 40 percentile or something like that. I have to admit, having watched them twice in person and watching a lot of football, it did not occur to me. I knew they ran it a good amount. I did not know it was so much higher than the rest of the league.
It's like a muddle huddle.
Yeah, like it. Couple of things that stand out to me in this game stat-wise that are just super impressive and explain why they're here. Saquon Barkley has 2,329 rushing yards this regular season and playoffs. That is 3rd all time in a single regular season and playoffs for a running back. Terrell Davis holds the 1st and 2nd mark in those 2 Super Bowl years. So Saquon needs only 148 more rushing yards to break Davis's all-time record of 2,476 from 1998. And then on Washington's side, here's what Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback, number 2 overall pick out of LSU, can accomplish if he wins this game. He can surpass Ben Roethlisberger for the most wins by a rookie quarterback in NFL history, including the postseason. He can become the first rookie QB to win 3 postseason games overall, win 3 postseason road games, and start a Super Bowl. All of those things, he would be the first. Become the 6th quarterback ever to win 3 road postseason games in 1 playoff run. That's Tom Brady, Tony Eason, Eli Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger. and a couple other things. He can become the first rookie QB with 5 postseason touchdown passes, and he can pass Russell Wilson for the most playoff passing yards by a rookie QB all time. I believe he needs like single-digit passing yards in this game to pass Russ, so he's going to do that. So crazy stats, really impressive. I'm going to take the Eagles to win it, but I think that if the Commanders inject early doubt into that stadium, I could definitely see Washington pulling it off. So it'll be fascinating to see. But all I'm doing is writing down Benny's picks after he picked the Commanders to beat the Lions, which is a result that I still, to this minute, hour, and day, my jaw is on the floor how that game went. All right. AFC Championship Sunday night, the matchup we all probably knew was coming. Even though Lamar Jackson, there was some hope that the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar were going to change it. But it's the rematch. It's Josh Allen. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's the Chiefs' 7th straight AFC Championship appearance, Benny. And it is Josh Allen, an MVP contender and candidate. And like you said, hey, maybe they split the MVP into Tim and Lamar. It's Josh Allen with another chance to topple the Chiefs and a chance to get to the Super Bowl. How do you see this matchup shaking out coming off what we saw from the Chiefs against the Texans and the Bills against the Baltimore Ravens?
I think, well, I'm picking Kansas City to win. I think they have the best player. I think they have a better team. And I think they have the better coach. I think Josh will come in there and make plays. If they do want to win, if the Bills do have an opportunity to win this game, he's going to have to use his legs a lot, I believe. I don't believe they have the receivers to create the amount of separation that they need in terms of what Spagnuolo is going to do and the man-to-man that they're going to play. And if it gets into a shootout, I just don't think Buffalo's defense is all that great. Now, they do have, a Hall of Famer and one of my former teammates on the other side in terms of Von Miller, who is a chief killer and knows how to, he knows how to make big time plays in AFC championship games, NFC championship games. It really doesn't matter. Von is no stranger to the spotlight. So I look for him to have an impact in this game. But at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes continues to do Patrick Mahomes type things, and it's hard to beat them. I think, Kansas City played okay last week. They did the right things or did enough things to win that game. But I also think Houston has a really good defense and, top 5 defense in the league, D'Amico Ryans. But they won't be playing that type of defense this week. I think Kansas City looks at the second half Baltimore tape and sees, hey, we can run the ball here. And that's what Baltimore did. They very pass happy in the first half.
Yep.
Turnovers definitely key. Lamar makes a couple turnovers, Mark Andrews turnovers, but Baltimore really dominated that game. And people could say what they want. They dominated that game. So all those things are on tape. So I think you have to look at that. CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, they couldn't get things going against Kansas City's defense. So who is Josh going to throw to? I think it does make Josh dangerous, the fact that you don't know who he's going to focus on. I could see Shakir making some big plays just because I don't know who Kansas City slot corner is, but McDuffie, whoever the best player on, he's probably beyond Amari Cooper. So I think Kansas City gets it done 34-24, something around there. That's kind of how I see it. But I see Hopkins. He didn't have much of an impact. I see him having more of an impact. Hollywood Brown. They just got so many different weapons, and now they're healthy. Kelsey will also obviously be a focal point, but who knows if he has the type of game that he had last week. I think somebody else steps up big, where they just exploit a matchup. And I believe Andy Reid will do that.
You took the words right out of my mouth about the Bills-Ravens game. Like somebody asked me the other day what I thought was going to happen in Chiefs-Bills, and I said Chiefs as quickly as you did. And my reason was almost the same thing. I said Buffalo wasn't even the better team in the last game they played.
Yeah.
I
very
think
clear.
Yeah, right. Like I think your analysis is spot on. I think that Buffalo's best quality in that game was not turning the ball over. I think their second best quality was a couple of favorable calls, to be honest with you. Like I think that offensive pass interference that wasn't called and was called DPI was big. I thought when Lamar was out of bounds and got tackled by Ed Oliver and they didn't call a 15-yard personal foul there, like I think that, credit to Allen and McDermott. I even thought I hated the way that McDermott coached the second half. I thought they went conservative. Like before that pass interference call, if you noticed, Romo called them out for running the ball and trying to stay safe and like playing for a field goal before that third down pass. It was almost like Buffalo was just battening down the hatches, trying to get out of there. And really, people can say what they want about that decision to kick a field goal there. I think that was the wrong decision. I'm not a results-based guy. Like that catch by Mark Andrews, he makes that catch and the 2-point conversion and tie game. Like Baltimore wins that game in overtime.
Mm-hmm.
So, I like Kansas City to win this game. I don't think it'll be that difficult for them. I just don't know how they're going to do it because Andy just pulls out a different skill player or strategy every week. It's always hard to actually predict. But I do like Kansas City to do it. And I envision a Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. One thing I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Lamar's turnovers, but the fact that the Ravens kind of found their footing and were controlling the game in the second half outside of some key mistakes. Do you come out of that game, Benny, feeling like Lamar had another disappointing playoff performance, kind of like he said about himself? Or did you feel like he did enough to win and being harsh on the early turnovers is too harsh?
When I look at the Baltimore Bills game, I think Lamar was by far and away the best player on the field. I think it's tough when you look at it. Yes, they lost a turnover margin, and yes, he did have 2 bad turnovers, but he more than overcame those turnovers. And I thought he put himself in a position to win that game. Everybody wants Lamar to play better in the playoffs, and I want him to play better and wanted him to play better, and I think he did. You can turn the ball over and still win these games. We've seen Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, we've seen Patrick Mahomes turn the ball over in these games and then do enough to get their team back in the game and then win the game. And I think Lamar did that. 88-yard drive to score a touchdown. They call a great play for the 2-point conversion. He throws a great pass, hits Andrews in the chest, and they drop it. So, it's a team game. It's the ultimate team game. But I thought Lamar did it, and that was the legacy drive. That's what we wanted to see from Lamar Jackson anyway. Let me see you go make this drive. Let me see you go take this game and put it in your hands and win the game, tie the game, whatever it may be. And we saw that. Now, he can't run and catch it. We've seen this with Tom Brady. I don't know if it was the undefeated season or whatever, but he threw a big box fade to Wes Welker. Perfect pass, and Wes dropped it. Now, Patriots, I don't know if that was the undefeated season or whatever it may be, but they would have won that Super Bowl. So it happens. But I was very impressed with Lamar and what I saw from him during this playoff run. He's going to have to get over this hump. It's a tough thing, but I mean, we all know who the best player on that field was the other day. We saw it.
Yeah. Well, I would argue, and I agree with everything you just said, except one thing. You know what's fascinating about the Ravens' decision-making in that game and ultimately their loss is, what I was going to say is not giving the ball enough to Derrick Henry. Imagine being the Eagles and not leaning on Saquon Barkley. Imagine being the Commanders and not leaning on Jaden Daniels. Imagine being the Bills and not putting it in Josh Allen's hands. In a lot of ways, the Ravens making Derrick Henry only a complementary piece that's not on the field a ton in a game like that feels akin to that kind of mistake. The difference with the Ravens is keeping the ball in Lamar's hands isn't a bad idea. You know what I mean? So it's like they have 2 guys that if they don't give him the ball, you say, why didn't you give it to him? Yeah. So I understand the challenge that Todd Monken and the Ravens have. I do believe, though, watching the game, and you said too, like they got pass happy in the first half. In the second half, they started running the ball and it started working. I felt like Henry, most of his carries when they needed yards, he was getting 6, 7, 8-yard chunks. It felt like. I just have no concept of an understanding of why they didn't go to it early and then why they didn't even stick with it down the stretch. I felt like Buffalo was begging to be run on. And the Ravens, frankly, giving the ball to Derrick Henry doesn't even keep Lamar out of the game, because then you give Lamar the read option. You just give him the ability, if Henry's killing them, one of those times he pulls the ball and he's out and he's gone. So I don't know. It also, I'm being long-winded here, but it felt like if the Ravens are ever in a position, it was a legacy drive and Lamar was amazing on it. But when they put themselves in a position where they need points and Derrick Henry can't be on the field because they have to throw, like that's just, you did something wrong with how you coached your game if you put your offense in a position where one of your two best players can't be on the field. And the final thing I'll say, what'd you say?
They scored too quick. That's why you don't see, they scored with 1:30 seconds left. I don't think that was their game plan. But Lamar keeps the play alive, throws it to Likely. We could say what we want. I don't think that game actually goes into overtime. I think Josh Allen does enough to get the field goal.
Oh, so, interesting.
Just think about where they scored. They had one timeout left. They would have tied it 27-27. Josh only needs, if you kick the ball out of the end zone, he only needs 4 plays. He runs for a couple first downs, a couple quick passes, and then they kick the field goal, and then they walk off, and it's a totally different thing. But I think they scored too quick. So that's where I would come back to. It's not a good or a bad thing. I've been in situations like that before, but Lamar keeps the play alive, throws it to Likely, score with 1:30 seconds left. I think they actually did want to give it to Henry more once they got closer to the end zone, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, he didn't get the ball in either of their 2-point conversion tries. Either one was a pass that got batted down, and then one was obviously the Andrews drop. So missed opportunity for the Ravens.
Both players were open on both of those concepts. The pass getting batted down that's a big mistake right there. That's a big mistake by Lamar that's not talked about. But both concepts were open. I mean, Ty Monken, give him credit. Those guys Likely was open on the crosser on the one that got batted down, and then Mark Andrews was open on the other one. So his got-to-have-it plays were incredible.
No, that's fair. Yeah, you're right too. That was actually Lamar's. Obviously, he had the interception in the first half, which is just a gaffe. But that missed 2-point conversion that got batted down was his worst throw outside of the interception all day.
Yeah,
yeah, totally. Chiefs wise, let's see. I think you covered everything there, and yeah, I think nobody wants to see them back in there in America. Everybody wants to see Josh Allen
back in there.
Finally get it done. But you and I, knowing good football, knowing winning football, and knowing that Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo are always going to find a way to find your weakness. Like, look at Spagnuolo isolating George Karlaftis against Dalton Schultz and finding ways to check in and out of plays to get his best edge or one of his best edges and pass rushers against a chipping or blocking one-on-one tight end. Karlaftis ends up with 3 sacks in that game against the Texans. I actually didn't think the Texans played that poorly. The Chiefs just did enough to win. Benny, one more question about this matchup. I don't have an answer for it. I have to be honest. I need to do more research on it. What is going on with Amari Cooper's impact on this offense? I mean, I think he had been banged up a little bit in the middle of the season, but anytime I've watched Amari Cooper, he's either beaten his man one-on-one or he's the kind of guy who just wins jump balls and contested catches. So I'm struggling to figure out why Allen and Cooper haven't formed like a better connection.
I think Amari Cooper missing time throughout the season. You just miss that type of camaraderie and that type of trust that Josh wants to build. But I would expect Amari to get the ball. And I don't know how their offense is designed. I don't think they have a go-to, hey, we're going to Amari on this type of play. I think Shakir in the slot, somebody working in the slot. You saw that with Cole Beasley in this offense. You saw that with Diggs in this offense in terms of just those types of players. And, I don't know where the chemistry is. I think, Keon Coleman, former Michigan State Spartan, is his jump ball go-to athletic guy now. Amari Cooper is more of your quick out, slant, intermediate down. I think that's kind of how they call the plays. And, I don't think they've brought that out yet in terms of that. But with all the man-to-man that will be played this weekend, I can see Amari having a big game.
Yeah, I agree with that. He is that kind of talent. I mean, watching him in Cleveland this year, obviously I saw him a lot with the Cowboys, but Cleveland had nothing else going on, and Deshaun Watson wasn't playing well. but Amari Cooper against man-to-man coverage was unstoppable. I mean,
Yeah.
and not that the Giants secondary is anything to shake a stick at, but that was quite impressive. And so I'm waiting for him to break out. Okay, so that's our breakdown of the NFC and AFC championship games. Before we get out of here, Benny, I wanted to ask you about the coaching carousel, which is, I have to say, one of the more unusual cycles I've seen in a while. But wanted to go over 3 either hires that just happened or imminent hires real quick, and I'll give them to you all in one shot and want to know your input. So Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator, takes the Chicago Bears job with Caleb Williams. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator from the Lions, ends up with the New York Jets, a Bill Parcells favorite there. And then the Dallas Cowboys, Benny, this is something going on as we speak here on Thursday, January 23rd. It sounds like this is Brian Schottenheimer, the offensive coordinator in Dallas, being promoted to replace Mike McCarthy, who has now moved on. So Ben Johnson to the Bears, Aaron Glenn to the Jets, and Brian Schottenheimer to the Cowboys. How do you feel about those 3 hires?
Well, I think this is tough for the Detroit Lions. That's where I'll start in terms of just those 2 coordinators leaving. Dan Campbell now has to find a replacement for a Ben Johnson who helped Jared Goff, who was big with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Jamar Gibbs, David Montgomery, Laporta, just that entire offense. You're losing a part of that offense, and I think that's going to be very hard to replace for Detroit. And in terms of a leader on defense and who people wanted to play for, that's tough in terms of losing Aaron Glenn. People are still going to want to play for Dan Campbell, but it was a free agent destination to play for a Ben Johnson or to be in that offense. And you see players like Tim Patrick and Allen Robinson go to Detroit for that opportunity. I think some of those guys end up in Chicago. So I think it's going to be tough on the Lions. It's going to be exciting to see now what the Bears are going to be able to do on offense with the creativity, with the playmaking ability. They already have some playmakers there in Chicago. I think it's easier said than done what Ben is going to be trying to do, but now it's going to be all eyes are going to be even more on Caleb because we know Ben Johnson is capable of putting points up. So we're going to see what type of quarterback and if Caleb Williams is actually a winner, because Ben Johnson, we know, can do that. They already have the defense, but
right,
they still have no offensive line. So that's where he'll have to start. Aaron Glenn going to New York. We'll see. They still don't have a general manager. I'm going to question that ownership and their direction and their leadership and their hiring. But I think they hired a great leader, an incredible leader. And he was somebody I was with in New Orleans. And, he was a defensive backs coach there and people loved playing for him. And he did incredible work with that secondary. So I'm excited to see Aaron Glenn in New York. And then the Cowboys continue to be a clown show. So I don't have anything to say there. It's just, everything they're an incredible marketing machine in what they do and the business that's been done. But in terms of the product that they put on the field and the way they go about their business for the on-field activities and team don't make sense.
No, I agree I think that until further notice, the Cowboys' priority is making money and not winning. And that might sound naive to say that as if it's news because, of course, we've seen plenty of other examples from them and other organizations that appears to be the case. Giants, but it smacks you in the face, like the idea that they don't know what they're doing with how quickly or slowly they move on the process, an uninspiring hire, no effort to seemingly change the way that the organization operates. But they have the brand, they have a way to sell to people that it has the hope or the chance of being something that it's not going to become. And they can win enough division games to keep the stands filled and the PSLs paid for. Right. So, that's definitely what they are. That's a really good point about Ben Johnson too. The last thing I'll say about that is you're right. They need to start with the offensive line. And I think that I'm interested to see what they do at running back too, because, you got to address the O-line before you address the running back. They have Swift there already, but Ben is coming from a place where, you got to find a Penei Sewell type up front, but he was just working with Gibbs, Montgomery, and as creative as he is, and we think of all the points they scored, he very much designed and leaned on a strong running game in Detroit. So I think that as much as, hey, what's Caleb going to become? I think you hit the nail on the head, and I would add the running back position to it, where it's going to be, how do we support him so then he can be more? Not we need to turn him into more. Is how I view the process starting there. So yeah, Benny, this has been phenomenal. This has been a great season. It's not over yet, but really excited for these games and these matchups. I'm really grateful to you for always joining us here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard for these breakdowns. So can't wait for the action, and thanks for being here as always.
Appreciate you, Pat.
That was Benny Fowler here on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, NFC and AFC Championship preview episode. Should be a fun weekend of football. Can't wait to watch those two games. Reminder, we are brought to you here on the Believe Network and on our YouTube channel, PL on NFL, by MyBookie, Boom Chaga, and Estate 98 Coffee. MyBookie rolling out the red carpet for sports bettors this football season. We've been making you money, almost 55% hit rate on our regular season games, and throughout the playoffs, hitting on some special prop bets. I mentioned I like Zach Ertz in that Philadelphia-Washington game. I'll have much more, including picks against the spread, straight up, and prop bets coming on my social media platforms all across Instagram, TikTok, Threads, X, YouTube. So stay tuned for that. PL on NFL everywhere except on X. I'm P Leonard NYDN. But you need to click on that link in all my profiles or go to mybookie.ag. Use that promo code PATSPICKS, PATSPICKS, and get a 50% match on your first deposit of $50 or more, all the way up to $1,000, plus a $10 casino chip. Go to MyBookie, bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Also brought to you by Boom Chaga Mushroom Super Drink. Natural extract loaded with anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting antioxidants, and heart-healthy compounds. You can easily pour this natural liquid supplement into any of your favorite drinks. I put mine in my coffee every morning and immediately feel the difference. I personally feel a post-workout-like energy boost with Boom. Chaga also has the ability to lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation, and improve immune and heart health with its beta-glucans and antioxidants. Go to boomchaga.com today to place your first order. Use that discount code TalkingBall25 or access it through the QR code on your screen right up here, and you'll get 25% off your first purchase on the subscribe and save option. You don't have to stay subscribed. You can cancel it out. No harm, no foul. But I do think you'll stay subscribed to this Boom Chaga product. You'll love it. It does a lot for me. I think it will do a lot for you too. So this means a month supply right now. If you use that 25% off code at boomchaga.com, that's going to get you $30 total for a month supply of Boom Chaga. Talking Ball 25 or the QR code right there. Start feeling the difference today at boomchaga.com. Also brought to you by Estate 98 Coffee, a specialty coffee concentrate perfect for when you want to make a quick cup of coffee and skip the lines. Takes me less than 10 seconds to make a delicious Estate 98 iced or hot coffee. It's great as a mixer for espresso martinis, and each bottle can make up to 16 cups. Go to estate98.com/talkingball to get an exclusive offer for 80% off your first order. See you next time on Talking Ball with Pat Leonard.